I'm sure Clyde is saying, hey, this guy's pretty good, and Clarke's saying, geez, he's everything I thought he was.
You have to take that premise that anyone that climbs in the ring with you is good.
Yeah. You don't do that, you're in a lot of trouble. There's some good punches. And Clarke is up against the ropes. Gray hasn't, but they're really just wrestling there. There were a couple of good punches thrown, not damaging punches. Nothing was scored up against the ropes. And look at Clarke come back. Uppercuts.
Clyde is cut.
There is a cut on the right eye of Clyde Gray. Cut over the right eye, and that could be trouble. The crowd springs to life. This is only the second round. And already Clyde Gray is cut. See the blood, it's all over Clarke as well. Over the right eye, right on the brow. That could prove to be trouble later on. We certainly don't want to see this fight called because of cuts. We'd like to see something a little more decisive than that. And Clarke is tattooing that cut.
He seems to be cut right at the corner of the eyebrow.
Clarke sees it, and he's really going after it. Fans here, 10,000, was springing to life. Gray really pushed Clarke back with a good right there. Cut remains, and Gray is really bleeding quite easily at this point.
That's Clarke, an angry cut right now.
Clarke's really working on it. Everything he throws goes to that cut. Another good series by Clarke. 45 seconds left to go in the second round, and already this fight is really taking a good turn here with that cut. You can bet one thing, though. Gray's corner will really go to work to seal that one up, and if he can stay away for a couple of rounds, it'll be okay.
Well, Clyde's fortunately has Dr. Joe Greenberg in his corner, who is a capable cut man.
Chris Clarke has his eyes set on that cut. Corner of the brow, over the right eye, and Clarke scores again. So here is round 3, scheduled 15-rounder British Commonwealth title on the line in the welterweight class. And Clarke really doesn't waste any time. He's going after that cut again. He sees his opening. They appear to have that cut under control, but Clarke slipped in there with the left. No opening on the cut. We're going to keep a very close watch on it. That has been Clyde Gray's history. Solid right snare, and Clyde comes back with a right. Clyde Gray has a lot of fight in him. Don't by any means get the impression we're writing him off. Anybody with 80 pro fights has been there before, knows how to get out of tough spots.
Both fighters right now are pitching.
There are some good punches being thrown here. Solid exchange there. There's going to be some good punches here tonight.
Clyde's looking to lead with that right hand, that big sucker right hand.
We're in round 3 here, just approaching the midway point. The big story of this fight so far was round 2, when Clarke opened up a cut over Gray's right eye. The crowd now picking up the cheer. To tell if they're saying go Clarke go or go Clyde go.
I'm a little trouble myself trying to find out who they're rooting for.
Of course, they're both Nova Scotian fighters, so it could be either one. Minute and a half left to go in the third round. Both fighters not sparing anything. They're really going full out. I'd be surprised if this went 15 rounds at this pace. And the cut is reopened. Corner of the right eye of Clyde Gray. That's the thing we're going to have to watch throughout this fight.
I think what you'll see too, Clyde is going to have to throw caution to the wind right now and empty out.
Solid punch. Clarke has been able to open that cut up again. Clyde's not about to give in here. Anytime you get a fighter on the ropes, there's trouble for somebody. The thing you have to notice too is Clyde is landing a lot of body shots, and what that does over 15 rounds.
Well, that takes its toll. There's no question about that. But if Clarke can keep him in the middle of the ring, that'll be to his advantage.
Final 30 seconds of round 3, action-packed so far. And as we've been saying all along, the story so far is the cut over the right eye, the corner of the right eye of Clyde Gray. There was another one. Clarke landed another left on that eye.
seems to be a small trickle from the eye at this moment. Now it's opened up again.
Yes, it has. There's the end of round 3. We're now into round 5, scheduled 15-rounder British Commonwealth welterweight title on the line. Chris Clarke against Clyde Gray. Clarke obviously the challenger, but he has been able to open up a cut. There's some solid leather traded there. Clarke opened up a cut in the 2nd round, reopened it in the 3rd, reopened it again in the 4th. It's a cut under, or not under actually, it's at the midway point of the brow.
Good right hand by Gray.
Oh, they're really trading the punches here. Look
right
out.
back.
Look out, and that cut is reopened again in round 5 for the 4th successive time. Clyde Gray is bleeding, but did he ever land a right there?
He opened the cut much wider.
There's some solid punches here. You have to wonder at this point, how can these fellas possibly fight for 15 rounds? They're really trading the leather. There's not a soft punch in the group. And look at the blood on Clyde Gray's face. The saving point of that is, as we said before, it's not bleeding into the eye, it's bleeding around the eye. Ungerman calling for a series of punches. Clyde Gray, but they're not coming about so far. Minute and a half to go in the 5th round, and a solid punch again by Clarke.
Straight left by Clarke. That hurt.
Of course, it landed right on the cut. An uppercut. That had to hurt. This is a brawl. Beautiful punches being traded here. There hasn't been a soft one yet.
Clarke showing a lot of willingness, a lot of determination. He wants to fight.
Yep. Crowd has all but forgot the preliminaries now.
Good right hand by Gray.
Right. That right shocked Chris Clarke. There was a punch that was actually under the belt, but Clyde Gray appears to be scoring now. Clarke regressing.
Another right hand.
There was another one, but Clarke, well, he's trying to come back.
And a left hook.
They're both coming back. Look at this action. This is incredible. Clarke on the ropes, but quickly he gets off the ropes.
How can you ask for anything more than that?
He certainly couldn't. Final seconds of this round, final 30 seconds. Both fighters getting very, very tired at this point. Very, very tired. Gave him everything he had there. He's in trouble on the ropes now. Look at Clyde. He's scoring at will. But quickly, Chris Clarke comes back. And that's the end of the round. Listen to the crowd. Start of round 6 now.
Let's congratulate Dr. Joe Greenberg in the corner. He's got that cut stopped again.
The cut was opened in the 2nd round and opened in every round since. We're going to watch for it again, but Clyde is really landing some dynamite punches. Definitely the hardest fight Chris Clarke has ever had. They're both landing good punches. Yeah, the cut's open again, Vince. Just a little bit there, but it's open. The only mark in Chris Clarke is a little mouse under the left eye. Clyde really hasn't worked on it. He's worked more on the body punches. One thing he has been able to do, though, is to get Clarke up against the ropes.
Well, as I mentioned before, that's where Clyde shines, in close.
There was another one by Clarke, left to that cut over the right eye of Gray's.
Clyde has been very effective. Clarke has been very effective keeping that cut open. Stick, stick, stick.
Approaching the halfway mark of the 6th round, scheduled 15-rounder. We said it time and time again. It's hard to believe both fighters will be in this kind of shape after 15 rounds. Regardless of who wins this fight, they do us all a service by having a rematch.
There's no question about that. They've thrown more leather than a shoemaker sees in a lifetime.
Both landing solid punches.
yelling for combinations, not one punch. Right hand, left hook, follow it up, not just one punch.
Both appear to be somewhat tired at this point, although they are still landing good punches. Sixth round, they've gone full out. You'd have to expect them to lull in here. Next couple of rounds to slow down just a bit.
Good sucker right hand by Gray. That shook Clarke up. That hurt him.
Clarke's in trouble. He's on the ropes. The sucker punched at him. What a setup. There is the experience paying off for Clyde Gray. The youngster, Chris Clarke, in trouble. A perfect setup by the veteran. He's been there many times. You had to expect that to happen sooner or later. Clarke is wobbly on his feet. He's in trouble. He's going.
Clarke's in trouble.
Gray has him now. Straightening him out, but Clarke is a game fighter. If he can get out of this round, and he does, there is still a chance. But listen to the crowd. Once again, a standing ovation. Set up by a veteran boxer who's been there some 80-odd times. That's just part of learning the sport as far as Chris Clarke is concerned. The big thing is he got out of the round.
Tell you what, his heart is as big as this building.
We are seconds away from round 7. Chris Clarke wobbled badly in the 6th round. Gray has that cut over his right eye.
That was the first round. The cut did not bleed.
And Gray
Good right hand. He hurt him again.
They come out flying. Gray can smell an act out here, and Clarke fighting for his life. These are two very game fighters. Look at the leather.
He walked in with a good right hand. That hurt him.
That's it. Chris Clarke is in trouble. He's in very bad trouble against the ropes.
Talk about courage.
What a courageous young fighter this man is. He's never been knocked out. He doesn't want to be knocked out. Look at the leather that Gray is throwing.
You're yelling to Clyde to push him off, but that takes strength and it wastes your energy.
This is an incredible display of guts and courage on the part of both fighters. Look at Clyde land those punches and Clarke take them. Clarke is not done. He's very flat-footed, though. Look at the punches.
That's what the fight game is made of. Two cocks in there, Gray giving it all they got. Like two fighting cocks.
This is an incredible display. Gray apparently winded now after throwing all those punches, but he's still got one. What a right. He's landing rights. And he's really shaking up Chris Clarke. Clarke is bleeding now from the nose. No question about it. Clyde Gray has this fight at this point in time. But that could change very fast. I really don't expect this one to go 15 rounds. Gray is very flat-footed, throwing desperation punches, very tired. Gray has quite a bit left in him, but neither one of them is going to admit defeat at this point. 1 minute left in round 7. What an incredible display.
Clarke must be in fantastic condition. He absorbed so much punishment that round, and he come back punching.
This man has taken everything the last 2 rounds. He's still up there. He's still throwing punches. Look at him land those punches. And now suddenly Clyde Gray is in trouble. Suddenly the fight is turned around.
He's still swinging.
Suddenly the fight is turned around again. Clarke is on the ropes now.
Clyde calling on all his know-how, all his experience.
Reaching back through 80 professional fights. Clarke reaching back through the youth to get more energy.
No bell. They thought the bell rang.
They thought the bell rang. There's actually 10 seconds left in round 7. The final 5 seconds. And these last 2 rounds have been incredible. There it is, the end of round 7. We're into round 8 now. Clyde Gray has really socked Chris Clarke the last 2 fights, but he's taken everything. The youngster has taken it and come back. The cut over Clyde Gray's right eye, the big question. And how much can Chris Clarke take? He got rocked again by another right. Those short rights by Gray are really taking their toll. Now the 10,000 plus people have settled down quite a bit. There was a fight over there.
Clarke seemed to be gained his composure somewhat.
I'll tell you one thing about what goes on outside the ring here. Every time that Irv Ungerman comes to town, somebody always wants to take a poke at him.
It was a question that Irv may not be in the corner for this fight.
There was some. He'd been fined, and apparently they say he paid his fine, did they?
Well, knowing Irving, I doubt that very much. I'll just say that probably some charity received a little bit of money today.
Well, that clarifies a few things, and so much for the discipline. Well, let's get back to the fight. Nothing can detract from this one. Look at the leather being thrown. This is incredible. Here we are, round 8, past the halfway point of the fight, and these fellas are still going full blitz.
You'll notice now Clarke is up on his toes.
And a minute and a half left to go in round 8.
Good left hook by Gray.
Solid punches. Cut is reopened again.
Three punches. That hurt.
And Clarke is slacked. What a punch. Clarke is slacked. He's wobbling. Gray is very tired. They both go into the ropes. They're both just exhausted. But Clarke is taken.
Good right hand.
Another one. Straightens Clarke right out. He's wobbling. Clarke definitely hurt. It's a question of can Gray finish him off. Clarke has taken everything the last 3 rounds. Gray has not been able to do it.
Talk about courage. Look at Clarke.
This is incredible. It's hard to imagine a person taking that kind of beating and coming back. What a game fighter. Take nothing away from either one of these fighters. Clarke coming back again.
You got to remember, throwing all that punches takes a lot out of you, too.
These people must be in incredible shape. You imagine the amount of workouts both of these fellas have gone through to be able to do that. Oh,
good left hook.
The left hook staggers Clarke. Gray scoring at will. And again, Clarke, towards the end of the round, is actually saved by the bell. Chris Clarke appears to be in trouble, but he's starting very good. This is an incredible display. Clarke again bleeding through the nose. Gray's eye cut hasn't opened up yet. Look at Chris Clarke, reminiscent of Muhammad Ali, dancing, almost mocking the veteran Gray. Just seconds after being checked out by the ring doctor. Look at him dance. What a gutsy performance. Oh, and he's straightened out by a right from Gray. But Clarke keeps coming back, as he has been doing for 9 rounds so far.
Clyde's eye is bleeding again. Good left hook by Clyde to the belly.
Clarke's in trouble again, but again he comes back. Look at the leather being traded here. I've said it so many times, you can see it for yourself. This is incredible. And again, Clarke goes to work on Gray's eye.
Clarke is an amazing individual. Talk about guts.
They're both thoroughbreds. There's no question about that. And there's certainly no energy shortage in this fight.
Clyde must be wondering what's holding this kid up.
This is amazing. Minute to go in round 9.
Those uppercuts hurt.
Those uppercuts are getting through. They're getting through.
I think they're stopping it.
No, the referee is stopping the fight temporarily. Temporarily. He's going to continue it. I would hate to see this fight stop.
I think Clarke talked him out of that.
Chris Clarke in trouble here. If Gray can score, it'll be all over. But what courage on the part of Chris Clarke to continue on. His biggest fight. He's only been in the ring 18 professional times. He's continuing on. He's not a quitter. If you've never seen Chris Clarke fight before, you now have the utmost respect for him. The uppercuts are doing damage again. Herb Ungerman yelling to stop the fight. Clarke waving him off. Clarke has a cut over his left or right eye now.
And he's punching back.
This is incredible. Ungerman's corner, or Gray's corner, calling for Gray to finish him. But so far, Clarke has proven to be a very game fighter.
He's talking to Clyde now, saying, I'm okay. Come on, get me.
He's taunting Clyde Gray. Look at Chris Clarke. This is incredible. Unbelievable. And the cut is really opened over Gray's right eye. Severe cut. Look at Clarke.
And he's punching back.
Apparently finished in the 9th round. It looked like it was all over. And now he comes out again with a burst of energy and puts Clyde Gray in trouble. And Gray is in trouble with that punch.
Talk about youth being served.
It's Clarke's left eye, Gray's right eye. They're both in trouble there. Now the crowd chanting, go, Chris, go. And there was a solid left. It stiffened Clyde Gray momentarily.
That landed right on Clyde's eye.
This is right out of the old Hollywood script of Rocky, this one. Clarke does some damage. Clarke on the right side of your screen, Gray on the left side. They're both cut. They're both tired. They've both taken a lot of punches, and they both plan to take a lot more.
And there's 5 big rounds left.
Well, I've said it all along. I don't think it'll go 15, but they're sure going to try. Now Clarke with Gray in his own corner in trouble. Punches, and Gray's eye is really bleeding. It's spurting out blood. The right eye of Clyde Gray. Look at the blood spurt out. He's going to be examined by the doctor after this round.
Blood now is running in his eye.
And so the tables have been turned very quickly by Chris Clarke, the game fighter. He has reopened that cut badly over the right eye of Clyde Gray. And instead of the doctor going to Chris Clarke's corner, look at the blood. This is incredible. Instead of the doctor going to Chris Clarke's corner, he's going to be visiting Clyde Gray's corner. A severe cut.
I doubt if they can stop that now. It's bleeding probably 2 different places now, maybe 3.
There are 2 places, and there is a giant mouse under Clyde Gray's eye. It is incredible the amount of blood he is losing, and very fast.
Under the eye, over the eye.
But still, he battles back.
Talk about courage. Clyde Gray's got it covered full.
And here's the end of round 10. We'll watch the corners. I believe they're calling for the doctors to go over to both corners.
It'll be an interesting confrontation right now. There's 2 doctors in Clyde's corner. The doctor who is his chief second, who closes the cuts, and the commission doctor.
So the doctor is in Clyde Gray's corner. They're examining that cut. It appears to be cut in several spots. It was at the corner of the brow. There is a mouse under his right eye. They're calling for the start of round 11. The doctor's still in Gray's corner. We'll see what the verdict is. Herb Ungerman very concerned. There's a lot of blood lost here by Clyde. They're going to let it go.
They're stopping the fight.
They're stopping the fight. Chris Clarke is the new Commonwealth welterweight champion. This is incredible. They're stopping the fight on cuts after 10 rounds.
Who would believe this?
They were
them right now.
That's right.
Chris, you're the new Commonwealth welterweight champ. How does it feel?
It feels great. Didn't you think it really feels great? He threw a lot of punishment. He thought he had me hurt, but really he didn't. He didn't phase me at all.
Did he surprise you at all?
No, I thought he'd be coming out stronger than he did, but he didn't. Like, I found him, he wearing down a lot. I thought, you know, geez, a guy wearing down like that. It was only 8th round. I said, I'll let him go a couple more rounds and hit me all he wants. And see if he staggers or anything.
He wobbled you pretty severely at several points in that fight.
Yeah,
Did you figure it was over?
No. It wasn't. I got to be. He didn't hurt me at all. It looked like he did, but really he didn't. He hit me a lot of shots, I know, but I was waiting for him. I was waiting for him to tire out, and he did, and that's when I took it. Come on.
Okay, he's calling rematch. Do you want to fight him again?
Sure, I'll fight Clarke again. I'll give him an even chance, sure.
And where do you go from here?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. In a rematch? Thank you.
Clyde, the fight was stopped because of a severe cut over your right eye. Did you agree with that decision?
I can't see the cut, you know. I can't see how bad it was. I relied on my doctor, and that was all to it.
He wants another rematch.
The obvious question, a rematch. When do you want to do it and where?
As soon as I healed up, I left to get a rematch. I had him out a couple of times. I let him get away. I figured when I did hit him, I should have followed up. I figured the one shot might have did it. I was too slow coming back.
Did you underestimate Chris Clarke?
Yeah, I think I did.
What did he show you didn't expect?
Guts.
He really took
Come
this
back
about...
after being hurt, and that's what he mainly showed.
Still the best, Clyde. You're still the best.
So you definitely want a rematch, and you want it here?
I would love a rematch right back here. No place else for it.
And new welterweight champion of the British Commonwealth, Chris Clarke.
Here, we've heard a lot about Clyde's eye. Is Clarke going to be able to do the same thing to it?
Well, with cuts, you never know. And I would state now the fight will not go beyond 8 rounds. Clyde will have to come out and make thunder right away. The other Clarke is a tough kid, and he knows this. If he can stay out of the way, stay in the middle of the ring for 3 or 4 rounds, hey, cuts open up.
So how about a prediction here? That gets him every time.
This seat got very hot all of a sudden.
Ladies and gentlemen, 15 rounds for the Commonwealth and Canadian welterweight championships. In the blue corner, from 3 Mile Plains, Nova Scotia, and Toronto, he weighs 147 pounds. The former welterweight champion of the British Commonwealth and at present the Canadian welterweight champion, Clyde Gray.
And listen to the response to Clyde Gray. And did you see the look of determination in his eyes?
In the red corner from Halifax, he weighs 147 pounds. The welterweight champion of the British Commonwealth, Chris Clarke. 15 rounds for the Commonwealth Championship.
Interesting reaction to the introduction of both fighters. A look of determination in Clyde Gray's eyes. Obviously, the fact that he was announced as the former Commonwealth champ sunk in there. Chris Clarke, who was a voice of concern about the negative reaction to his rematch. He's a little upset at the fact a lot of people don't think he's going to win this one. Vince, what goes through a fighter's mind at this point?
1,000 things. Am I ready? Did I train hard enough? All the little lies you told yourself previous, now they're running through your mind. This is the moment of truth right now. If you could walk between those two guys now with that look, you'd get electrocuted.
Yes, the electricity is high here. 10,000 plus on hand at the Halifax Metro Center. And this is what they paid to see. The odds against this one going the distance are very high. This is not something you would expect out of either fighter. They both are very good fighters. The only thing against Clyde Gray, which has really been against him for a long time, is he cuts. And we're into round 1. Jim Taddy at ringside. They start very slowly, but don't expect that to last long, as we saw in the last fight. Clarke at the right side of your screen. Now Gray goes to the right side of your screen. different psychology in this one. They both fought each other before. Now they know what the other can do. So far, we haven't even seen the first punch. If anything, Clyde Gray looks to be in far better shape than he was in the last fight. No traces of that cut that was over the right eye that stopped eventually the last fight. And so far, they haven't thrown any punches. And there it is, a soft one, soft right by Clarke. It almost took a minute to land that. An interesting look on Clyde Gray's face here. It's almost a smirk. Well, they're very, very cautious. Of course, we don't have to underline the importance of this one. 2 titles in the line. Clyde Gray is saying, no, I'm not washed up. And Chris Clarke is saying, hey, I want to get into the top 10 in the world. Gray appears to be cutting off the ring to Gray at this point. But as we say, punches are at a premium here. Clarke really lands the first leather, but then Gray comes back and they get out of that. It's interesting to note the psychology of this rematch. Both fighters staying their distance. Really, it's a scheduled 15-rounder. They have all kinds of time. Now Clarke has Gray on the ropes. They get into their first close action. A couple of punches traded there, nothing of consequence. You can feel the electricity in the air here. 10,000 plus on hand. Tickets went very fast for this one. First minute has gone by in round 1. We're now actually into the last 30 seconds. And they really aren't landing anything of note. Not so far. There's that smirk again on Gray's face. A lot of determination in the eyes of Chris Clarke. Oh, Gray gets through with a right to the chin. And we're into the final seconds of round 1. You noticed anything different about Chris Clarke?
He's a little more composed than he was last time.
Well, he certainly had a lot of that going for him last time, and now he's picked up more, but we're into the early stages of round 2. And now they're starting to throw some punches. Clarke cutting the ring off. Gray looking a lot more spirited than he did the last fight. Those punches are landing with authority. Clarke gets Gray on the ropes momentarily, but Gray gets out of that area. And Clarke goes to work in the body. The thing you have to watch for here is the right side of Clyde Gray's face. That's what stopped the fight the last time. Clarke, as we said in that last fight, has the kind of punch that rips. We'll have to see how effective it is tonight. Gray came through with the right there, pushed Clarke back. Very even type of fight so far. Gets through with the left. That's the one that did the damage the last fight. Well, they're content to dance around and feel each other out. Oh, an uppercut by Clarke. A left one slipped off the side of Gray's face. Really didn't do all that much damage. We have less than a minute and a half to go in round 2. Trying to pick up the action, but you say there's an uppercut, another left uppercut by Clarke gets through. With the fight scheduled for 15 rounds, they have a lot of time. Clarke's plan is now becoming obvious. He's leading with the left. Worked so well for him in fight 1. Now he goes with the right. Clarke appears to be grabbing the upper hand here. We say that cautiously. both very cautious here. Now Clarke is Gray on the ropes, but he fails to capitalize. And again, Gray on the ropes, but again, he doesn't capitalize. And you can see he's starting to go to work on Gray's right eye. Shots are going right in there. Well, he has Gray in trouble there. Start of round 3. And Chris Clarke went to work in the second round. His battle plan obvious, go for the eye that won him the fight the last time. It'll be interesting to see how Clyde Gray reacts in this round, because he really has to cover that up and, of course, score some points of his own. Oh, solid right there to Clarke's face. That was the thing that we noticed about the last fight. Toe-to-toe boxing. They went full blitz for 10 rounds. Fighters cautious at times, and of course for good reason. There's a lot at stake here. They do a spinorama into the ropes. Referee Bobby Beaton breaks it up. Now Clarke scores, and again he's going after that right eye. Well, they've slowed it down a bit here. 1 minute gone by in round 3, scheduled 15-rounder. And a good flurry of punches by both fighters. Gray getting the advantage there. So far, both corners very quiet. And some good punches there. Both fighters really taking it. Clarke turning out to be the aggressor there. But both fighters really traded some good combinations. Clarke gave a spurt at the end, which would give him the advantage in the whole exchange. Plus on hand at the Halifax Metro Center for this rematch. We're into the last minute of this, the third round. While we have a brief pause here, we can tell you how this fight will be scored. According to the Halifax Athletic Commission regulations, fights are scored in the 5-point must system. Good change there. The winner of each round receives 5 points, the loser a lesser number. If it's tied, they both get 5, and of course the mandatory 8 count for a knockdown. Nobody really scoring any damaging blows here. They're landing the punches, but they aren't cutting or forming any cuts into the eyes, anything like that. A bit of a slip there by Clarke. Wild punch by Clarke. Explanation here. We left the fight after round 3 because of copyright restrictions. We cannot show you this entire fight. We will delete round 4, show you the rest of the fight. We pick up the action with the start of round 5. Interesting to note as we start round 5, Chris will stay in his chair right until the bell goes to start that round. He doesn't want to waste any energy. I think both you fellows will agree the spontaneity of fight 1 is gone from this one. Everything seemed to happen so fast in that fight. This one seems to be more methodical, more planned out, more scientific, if you will. Clarke walked into a right to wake him up. There's that mock grin he was throwing at Clyde all through the first fight. He walked into quite a few of those August 28th. Looking at that right eye of Clyde Gray's, no marks on it, no sign at all that it will reopen. They really sewed him up well after the last one. Now Clyde looks into his corner from Irv Ungerman for some more instruction, and we'll see what he does with it.
Take your time, Chris.
Attempt to open it up, but as has been the case every time they've done it before, they spread out. No question about it. Clyde is really watching what goes on here. He's not plowing into anything. He's got his moves well planned out. He knows the type of fighter Chris Clarke is now, and he's not going to do anything foolish. There was a classic example. He got out of the way of that one in a hurry. It'll be interesting to see how Clarke's corner adjusts to this, because this is certainly a different fight altogether than the first one. Really getting back to the scientific side of boxing. It's been a long time. Now, those didn't really do anything. Good right by Clyde there. They tie it up again. They're into the final minute of this round, and this is the scheduled 15-rounder, so when this one's over, we'll be 1/3 of the way there, if it goes the limit. Irv Ungerman, Clyde Gray's manager, calling for the uppercut. It didn't materialize there. We'll watch for it. He's still calling for it. Oh, bit of a wrestling hold there. He's getting warned. That may cost him. You never know. If it goes 15 rounds, it's very close. That type of thing could cost him. Chris had him backed into the ropes, but wisely, Clyde got out of that one. And we're now into the final seconds of round 5.
Could catch Chris Clarke whispering something into Clyde's ear as they were in that last exchange along the ropes, and I don't know what it would be, but if it's anything like he said prior to the end of the last fight, it was you and me for the last 5, Clyde. And, I don't know what he's talking about this time.
I landed a good right hand in that round, the hardest punch of the round, maybe the hardest punch of the fight so far. It's interesting, I hear Irving Ungerman yelling from the corner, Tony. He's quarterbacking, yelling numbers, 6, 4, 5. It's something he used to do with George Chiavello when you're quoted telling him what punch to throw so his adversary won't hear the punch. So he'll tell him by number.
You wouldn't happen to have the code, would you?
I believe Tony is an uppercut. We'll have to listen and see if it's true.
Tony I knew was an uppercut.
Irving has another one, too, as keep on Clyde give him a surprise.
That's right. He uses that quite a bit.
Back at ringside as we start round 6 here at the Halifax Metro Center. This has been a far different fight than the one we saw and brought to you on August 28th. Now Clarke goes on the aggressor. He has Gray against the ropes. That's trouble for anybody. They seem to want to tie it up quite regularly. Referee Bobby Beaton breaks it up there, and a good exchange there. You see almost a look of fear in Clarke's eyes. Again, Gray scores with a good left hand. Side of the face on the right eye. Clyde Gray's eye is reopened. That cost him the last fight. It'll be interesting to see if that was opened on the late punch. Now we've really got something to watch for here. Clarke spells that he wants to go after Clyde. I want to see the replay on that and see if it was thrown after the referee stepped in to separate those two. Interesting and swift change of developments here. Now Clyde knows he has to do something in a big hurry, because if that cut opens the way it did last time, there's no question of which way this one's going to go. It's really bleeding freely at this point, too. We are past the midway point of this round, and by far, the development of the fight has happened right here. They tell me now we do have the replay, and we'll go to it right after this round. So it's obvious what Clarke's plan is. He's just punching away, trying to rip that cut open. Sounds all so gruesome, but that's part of boxing. Again, Irv Ungerman calling for the uppercut, but he's got to protect that eye. No two ways about it. He's really, it almost looks like a replay of the last fight. He's really bleeding freely at this point. They're going to have to watch the corner also after we look at the replay to see how the cut man closes him up. A lot of blood on Chris Clarke's face, too. It's hard to tell where that's coming from. And so very suddenly, Chris Clarke takes the command, opens the cut, and now has complete control of this fight. Took it longer this time, but the end result is the same. Oh, they're both throwing some good punches. Right, left. And still Lundgren calls for the uppercut. We are now into the final seconds of the most important round so far, round 6. A replay of the cut coming up shortly.
That does not look like the same cut towards the end of the fight the last time. This cut appears to be above the eye. The one before was below the eye. So this is definitely an older cut. We'll have to see how they close it up as we take a look in the corner right now. It is above the eye, and Vince, that is not the cut that caused the problem the last
you're
time.
right. That's a new cut, and unfortunately, he got hit after the referee was separating them.
I believe we have that punch on replay. So we'll take a look at that in just a second or two now.
I noticed Clarke is cut also.
And they're working on Clarke in his corner, too. He's cut up a little bit. We'll see just how that happened in this exchange right around here. As
there they are.
Gray moves in. They're being separated.
No question there.
That is the one that did it. Okay, we're back for live action as we get set for the start of round number 7. Here's Jim Taddy.
Very obvious now, Leo, that they want Chris Clarke to win this fight. The crowd going nuts here for a few minutes, chanting, "Go, Clarke, go." Now that that cut's open, I guess everyone pretty well has the script figured out. Well, there was no question on the replay that we showed you in between rounds that that punch was after the referee had stepped in. However, that's a little epitaph for a very good fighter like Clyde Gray. Well, they closed up the cut very well between rounds. Obviously, Clarke's going to keep going after it. It is above the eye, and that is trouble because the blood then drips into the eye and, of course, causes Clyde to lose vision in one of his eyes. That's how they stop fights.
I just might mention here, too, Jim, that Chris Clarke is not unmarked.
He has a few marks on him. He did bleed on the right side of the nose earlier on. They plugged that up. He's got some blood on his face right now. And since Clyde is no longer bleeding, we would have to assume it's his. He appears to have a mild cut just on the eyebrow. Just on the eyebrow on the left side of the face, almost at the bridge of the nose, which could cause some trouble later on. Now, this could be controversy later on. The referee stepped in there, and the crowd certainly didn't like it. We noticed it was a punch to the back of the neck. We also noticed that Clyde's eye has been reopened, and boy, did he score there, but he has to. He's backed right into the corner here. They're really starting to open up. This is now starting to resemble the first time they met, August 28th. Oh, there's that headlock again. Now Gray up on the ropes. We'll see what Clarke can do to him here. Well, they turns him right around. Gray wants no part of the ropes, and who does? They're really starting to punch well. Those punches are landing with good authority. They're marking. I mentioned before the cut had opened on Gray's right eye over and above it, but it really isn't bleeding badly, so it's no trouble at this point. It's not going into the eye. It just seems to be marking around it. Gray comes up with a good left to the side of the face. There was no question that Clyde punished Chris Clarke quite a bit in the last fight. As this round winds down, there's no question that both fighters are throwing some very good punches that are doing a lot of damage. Okay, we're into the final seconds of round 7. We're at the start of round 8. The 10,000 plus on hand here at the Halifax Metro Center. Very, very vocal. They want Chris Clarke to win this one. They've really got a massive I guess you'd just call it cut stopper, for lack of a better word, over Clyde Gray's eye. Vaseline and other things that stop it from bleeding. That cut has almost disappeared from Chris Clarke's eyebrow. They really plugged that up well. It wasn't all that big to start with, though. Fighters now getting back to that cautious style they started the fight with. They both tested each other severely. They know there's no fooling around here, so perhaps they're going to cool down for a couple of rounds. Now we have some Clyde Gray fans in the audience. Let's go Gray, they're starting up. And now the Chris fans are starting up. Let's go Chris. And what you have is what you hear. Tighten up again. A solid punch there. And now Chris in trouble on the ropes. Chris Clarke. Clyde Gray is going to work here. He appears to be a little wobbly, but we've seen that many times before. We saw that in 3 consecutive rounds August 28th. Let's see now. The trouble with Clyde Gray in that first fight was he'd go in, land the heavy punch, and then he couldn't finish off. Let's see what he does here. Let's see if he can counter. You know, Chris Clarke can take a lot of punches. The advantage of youth. Gray comes in with a solid right. Good right there. And a hit almost to the back of the head by Chris Clarke, but the referee doesn't say anything about that. Now Gray in trouble on the ropes, but he counterpunches well and gets out of it. Open up again. Clarke still not able to open that cut over the right eye. We're now into the final second. And again, the excitement. Jim Taddy back at ringside at the Halifax Metro Center. They start round 9, and we must point out the beautiful job they have done in Clyde Gray's corner to close up that cut and keep it closed, because that was the one that ended the fight last time round. Clyde is really straightening out Chris Clarke with several rights. He did it in the last round, but Clarke, you're really going to have to do something to knock this boy out. And if it does go 15 rounds, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be one of the judges in this one. It's a very even fight. Clyde's really getting through. The thing about boxing is things change in a hurry. Clyde Gray up in the ropes. Clarke really not able to do anything. Referee Bobby Beaton breaks him up, calls them back together again. Well, they aren't going for broke, but they're not holding back either. Oh, punch to the back of the head. And referee Bobby Beaton warns Clyde Gray. Chris Clarke's left eye is a little red in spots. We'll have to watch that one. Clyde's really covering up quite well here. A bit of an alley shuffle there. It really didn't work. Oh, and the old 2-1 trick. The ring surface is a little slippery. Goes down, so does referee Bob Beaton. Not a knockdown, simply a slip. And you can see there that the ring surface really is slippery. They want to put something on that because Clyde and Chris are both having trouble getting their footing. And Clyde throws a couple. Clarke is wobbled. Clarke is wobbled. Clyde scored with a right and a left, and he wobbled Clarke. We've seen this many times before. That was was the whole thing in that August 28th fight. Now look at this. There's no question about it. If Chris Clarke can escape this round, he's really going to have to do some serious thinking because Clyde is getting through. Both fighters being warned for elbowing. We're now into the last 30 seconds of this round. By far, Clyde Gray's finest hour so far this fight. He wobbled him. Now, Clarke getting wild. This fight is turning into a dandy. Well, this is what happened in the first fight. We said it before. Clyde has to move in and finish him off because first Clarke is a young fighter. He can rejuvenate himself very fast. And he has to finish him off. This is the end of round 9.
Well, that's the start of what happened the last time, Vince. Clyde Gray coming in, throwing the big bombs, and then the young fellow been able to withstand it. You said during our intermission for this round that Chris Clarke would take a punch like Mount Everest.
Exactly, and he's proven it. He got hit with some beautiful punches there. 2 or 3 combination, right hand, left hook, uppercut.
We can go to that now. We do have the replay on that combination that Clarke threw. We'll talk about it a little bit, Vince. Well, there's Gray throwing those punches on that replay, and you can see Clarke coming back off the ropes, and they were hard shots, too.
Yes, Clyde is fighting a cautious fight. He'll land 3 or 4 punches, but he won't waste them. Chris has got to stay off the ring. Stay in the middle of the ring and utilize the whole ring.
We're back to round 10 now. This is as far as it went the last time around. They completed 10 rounds, and when they went to start the 11th, well, they didn't. They called it a fight because of that massive cut. And we're going to watch here to see how well Chris Clarke can come back. He was really wobbling in that round, and Clyde's really opening up as well. Gray is really going to the offensive here. Neither one of them can sit around and wait for the other. They both have to let the punches fly. Careers are on the line here, not titles. Clyde tried to sucker him. I would say, judging by this so far, Clarke has rejuvenated himself totally, showing no effects at all from that wobbler. Now you can see the veteran in Gray coming out. He's trying every trick in the book. And again, Irv Ungerman, Clyde Gray's manager, calling for the uppercut. Clyde misses there with a right. Fans on hand here, very, very vocal. Both fighters appear to be tired. That may change very quick. One punch will do it. Again, they're calling for the uppercut from Clyde Gray. Again, it doesn't materialize. We haven't really seen one from him so far. Now, for some reason, Irv Ungerman is calling for the secret. We don't know what that is, but it seems to be working. Perhaps, Vince, you can tell us what is the secret.
I think it's an uppercut. That's what it is.
Well, whatever it is, it worked very well that time around.
An uppercut followed by a left hook.
Oh, Gray is wobbled. He's in trouble. Oh, they're going to get the count from ringside. They're at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what are we going to have? They're going to keep it going. Oh, there's going to be some controversy here. They're going to keep this one going. Clarke was down. He took the 8 count. Actually went all the way to 10. He's in trouble on the... Look for this one to be stopped. 2, 3 is the count. 4. This is going to be a mandatory 8 count. Well, they've got him to 8. I don't know if he knows where he is, but they're going to let him box anyway. Boy, this one's going to cause some controversy. He's defenseless. He's really in trouble. We have 17 seconds left in this round. If he can escape, who knows? But he's down. Clyde Gray will win this fight. What a turn of events.
It's Clyde Gray to regain his British Commonwealth Championship. It was not an easy fight for him, mind you. He had that cut open up again this time above his left eye. We're, I believe, set to go in the ring. And here's Jim Taddy with Clyde Gray. Jim?
Here's the decision from ring announcer Pat Connolly. No question about it, though.
Of the 10th round, the winner and new welterweight champion.
There it is. There's the announcement. Obviously, a lot of people here. They're going nuts. And it's turning into a mob scene here in the ring. Let's see if we can get Clyde in here. Clyde, you were able to get to him in a way you couldn't in the first fight. What was the problem, Earl? How did you do it?
I tell you what happened in the first fight. I thought I could just go out, throw some bombs and knock him out. But I find that I couldn't do that with him because he's a pretty clever fighter. He's a quick fighter. This time I tried to outfox him in the earlier rounds, confuse him, and then land the big bombs.
Don't let him out.
Okay, the obvious question here is rematch. When is there going to be one and where?
I don't know. I'm willing to fight anybody.
Just a minute. I'll be doing the talking from that point on now. Anybody contacting Clyde Gray, commissions or anyone, will have 0 answers, including anyone here in Halifax at this point. We came here to give you a chance at the title. You got the title. We got it back. And we'll talk different turkey from here on in.
Thanks very much. Let's see if we can get Chris Clarke.
You heard Irving Ungerman, Clyde Gray's manager, say that he's not too sure just yet about a rematch here or wherever. But okay, in the ring now, here is Jim Taddy with Chris Clarke.
Well, he's a good fighter. Everyone knows he's a good fighter. Hit me coming behind the head. There's no sour grapes in it. I know he hit me behind the head, but that's all right. I got another chance at him, he said. No trouble at all.
Okay, let's get into specific terms about that rematch. When and where?
Here in Halifax, sometime 2 or 3 months from now.